Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hope all of you had a great week. Hope all of you having a great Friday. If not, hope this video can make it a little bit better. And man, oh man, guess who we got to talk about in today's video? Alabama! Yes, that's right, you heard me correctly. The Alabama Crimson Tide. One of, if not the most, I would say they are the most hated program in all college football. Everybody hates Alabama. Why they hate them? It's relatively simple, my friend. Because they're the best. It's normal. For those of you who don't know, this week it was SEC Media Days, and I've been paying attention to it and watching it closely. Although we haven't been making videos, that really doesn't matter. The only reason I haven't been reporting on it too much is because, one, I don't think you guys want to see that type of content. And then number two, I don't think it's worthy of a video. I don't want to get up here and give you my preview and predictions on these teams, their seasons. Oh, here's what Kirby Smart said. Here's what Josh Heupel said. Here's what Lane Kiffin said and all that because, to be honest, I think it's pointless. But what I do think is worth talking about is Alabama because I've seen a lot of mixed opinions and mixed feelings about this team heading into 2025. And rightfully so. And wait a minute, hold on. What is this comment on the recent video? Mart, not my name, is my favorite chopped and unemployed football YouTuber. So now I'm unemployed. And this right here sums up our comment section. Thanks Eric Bledsoe for the Shamar Stewart update. Not only is my name not Eric Bledsoe, but that's an entirely different person. I don't even look like Eric Bledsoe. Why did you call me that? Matt the Bussy Bandit here with another interesting video. 2 exclamation points. Yeah, that's enough in the comment section. Anyway, sorry for that. I thought it'd be nice to read off some comments, but I guess not. Like I was saying, let's slot back in. Let's get serious. We're here to talk about Alabama football. There's been a lot going on with Bama this offseason. And one of the more recent things is Florida State, the Seminoles, starting quarterback Thomas Castellanos, he called out Alabama. And one thing that was sort of trending on social media is Deontay Lawson, Alabama star linebacker, was asked about Thomas Castellanos, his comments, quotes, whatever you want to call it, and he said, and I quote, "All disrespect will be handled accordingly." If you're an Alabama fan, that has got to be music to your ears. You don't want to see your players throwing jabs at teams. You just want to see them be the bigger person and say, you know what, I'm going to let my game do the talking, and that's the route Deontay Lawson is choosing to take here, and I love it. And I'm glad Lawson was asked about that quote because I think that sums up what this entire season upcoming is going to be for Alabama and Kalen DeBoer and that entire team and coaching staff. Before I get going on that, let's establish some ground rules and what transpired last year. We're going to run over this real briefly. Alabama started out the season great, went on the road to Wisconsin. I know their starting quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke, went down with an injury, but still, they crushed Wisconsin, and that is not an easy place to win at. And then they upset Georgia. They're the number one team in the country just like that, and it's looking like they're not going to skip a beat with Saban leaving. But just like the man, the myth, the legend, Lee Corso says, not so fast, my friend. They lose the very next game after upsetting Georgia to Vanderbilt. Do not get me started. There's one word and one word only to describe it. Embarrassing. As a Bama fan myself, it was the most embarrassing game, regardless of sport, I've ever seen out of Alabama. You could throw in pitiful, terrible, yada, yada, yada. I'm just going to say it again. And anytime I refer to it, embarrassing. I was embarrassed. But with the 12-team playoff, the season's not over. What happens? Alabama goes to Rocky Top. Yeah, the game kind of comes down to the end, but Bama didn't play good enough to win. Tennessee, they walk out of there with a win. But still, Alabama is in playoff hunt, and they get crushed by Oklahoma. Let me say it again. Oklahoma. Oklahoma wasn't good last year, guys, and they just had their way with Alabama. They dominated them similar to how Vandy did. I'm not talking about like Oklahoma was moving the ball up and down the field, but I'm talking about the way the game went. You didn't leave the game feeling like, oh yeah, Alabama's better than Oklahoma. No, Vandy outplayed Alabama. It wasn't a fluke. And Oklahoma outplayed Alabama, and Tennessee outplayed Alabama. That was the difference. So when Saban was at Alabama, almost I'd say every loss outside of maybe one or two, you didn't feel like the other team, even though they won the game, you didn't feel like, oh yeah, they were better. You were like, yeah, if they play next week, Alabama, I'm picking them to win every single time. But last year with Kalen DeBoer, different. I may come back to that later in this video. Fast forward in time, Alabama almost squeezed into the playoff. They did not. I said this back then. I'll continue to say it. They didn't deserve to be in, but they almost made it. They wound up going to the ReliaQuest Bowl, and they lose to Michigan, but who cares? It's a meaningless bowl game. If Alabama wins it, nobody cares. If Alabama loses it, nobody cares. Alabama plays for championships. But Alabama finishes the regular season 9-3, and they finish the total overall season 9-4. Not good. Very disappointing, considering they beat Wisconsin and Georgia to start the season. But come to find out after the season was over, there were not just a few, but there were a lot of guys in that locker room that weren't buying into the system, and it wasn't a good fit. And you see that a lot with new head coaches, and you're going to see it this year too. There's still going to be guys within the program the first couple of years. You got a head coach like Hugh Freeze at Auburn or Kalen DeBoer at Alabama or Josh Heupel and his at Tennessee that aren't bought into the system. And when I say the system, that's not the right word. A better word is the program. And you need to get those guys out ASAP. Alabama has done a lot of that this offseason. You could see it last year. Alabama, there's no doubt about it. They had a very talented team, but it doesn't matter when everybody's not buying in. Does that make sense? A great example is Michigan. Not last year, but the year before they won the national championship. They didn't have one of the most talented teams. That was either like Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, teams like that. But what made Michigan so good the year they won the national championship is the veteran leader. They had, how many seniors was it? I forgot. They had so many seniors. It was the chemistry. Everybody knew their role, and they were okay with it. Last year at Alabama, there were so many players, even at the end of the season, that were frustrated with their role and how the offense and how the defense were doing things. Heading into this year, 2025, I feel like from everyone I've talked to, and I got a couple of close sources around that program, it's going to be different, and that confusion, per se, should be all but gone. For example, you're not going to have Justice Haynes, 5-star recruit, 5-star running back, wondering why it's week 9, week 10, and he's only getting 6 carries, 7 carries per game. That shouldn't happen. And that's a whole nother video for a different day. I ranted on that last year as to why we didn't run the ball with 2 of the best running backs in the nation, Jan Miller and Justice Haynes. That's really more of a testimony to how bad Nick Sheridan was as an offensive coordinator. It is what it is. I don't think he did an awful job, but he didn't do a good job. And this goes hand in hand with why I think the confusion is going to be gone. Guess who's the new offensive coordinator? Ryan Grubb. You know him and Kalen DeBoer. They're good buddies. They were coaching together at Washington. There's not going to be any of this, oh, well, Bama should run the ball. No. They're going to be executing. I can guarantee you that. Here's another thing people don't talk about. I love Jalen Milroe. What he did for Alabama. He is a great person, but it's similar to Jalen Hurts. I hate to talk bad about Jalen Hurts when he was at Alabama, and I hate to talk bad about Jalen Milroe, but they just weren't good throwers of the football. They weren't, and I'm standing 10 toes down that to the day I die. But here's the side of things people don't understand. Kalen DeBoer, and I don't mean this as disrespect to Milroe, he didn't pick Milroe. You see, Milroe was already established as a starting quarterback when Kalen DeBoer was taking the job. I'm not saying DeBoer wouldn't have recruited a guy like Milroe, but that wasn't his guy. It wasn't. I personally thought DeBoer rather play Ty Simpson or Austin Mack, but the big dilemma with that is if he would have started Ty Simpson or Austin Mack, either of those guys, he would have lost the locker room, and you can't do that in year one. The team wanted Jalen Milroe. Players loved him. DeBoer, you could sense that he wasn't sold on him all the way. You have to be an athlete to understand it. You can't bench Milroe when the entire team loves him because then you'll lose the team, and that's when things go haywire. But this year in the quarterback room, DeBoer can do whatever he wants. There's 3 guys he could start, bench, play at any given moment in time. Things should be better there. All in all, for the offense, it's going to be much different than last year. You're going to see them run the ball way more. That's not me assuming. I'm guaranteeing it. You can mark it down. Alabama's going to run the ball probably 2 times more than what they did last year. Let me address this, though, because I know what you're sitting there saying, okay, man, that's all fine and dandy, buddy, but why are you making this video? What's the point? Great question, my friend. I'd love to answer it. I looked at Alabama's roster heading into the season, and at every position group, they're looking really scary. And I'm not just talking about offense. I'm talking about defense as well. And here's the terrifying part. Alabama arguably has the best offense from top to bottom in the country, but they also have arguably the best defense from top to bottom in the country. They have what I think is easily one of the best offensive line units in the nation. And here's another thing people are sleeping on. Their wide receiver core, they're looking solid. I'll leave it at that. I don't want to overhype them. You'll see. Of course, you got Ryan Williams. Everybody knows him. Your girlfriend, your mom watching this video probably knows him. Then you got Jeremy Bernard, who was severely underrated because Jalen Milroe can't throw a football past 15 yards unless it's a 60-yard pass. He can't hit Bernard over the middle of the field to save his life. Different conversation for a different day. Don't get me started on a Jalen Milroe rant. But then you got Isaiah Horton, who's been lighting it up in practice this offseason. Keep your eyes on him. I don't think it's going to matter who's going to play quarterback for Bama, but Ty Simpson, he's been at Bama now for what, 3-4 years? I expect a Mac Jones type of year out of him. Ty Simpson is not going to struggle. If he were a true freshman or even like a sophomore, I'd get it. But he's been there for so long. He's like the seasoned vet. And even if he doesn't perform well, that's fine. You can hand the ball off to one of the best backs in the nation, Jam Miller. What's crazy to think about is as poor as the defense played last year at times, the main reason Alabama lost games outside the Vanderbilt one is because of the offense. Think about it. The defense played flawless against Tennessee in the first half, forced a couple turnovers, and Alabama and Milroe, they couldn't move the ball. Against Oklahoma, the defense actually forced a turnover in the first quarter, or was it the second quarter? I think it was the first. Held Oklahoma, but Alabama's offense couldn't put up points. And then last but not least, against Michigan, defense played lights out, but Alabama couldn't put up points. The defense is going to shut people down. Deontay Lawson, he's going to wreak havoc. He's going to be a stud for Alabama. You got Malachi Moore. Defense, they're going to stop people. I don't even need to rant and rave on them. You know this. But here's another key reason as to why I'm even making this video in the first place. Bama is pissed off. And I don't mean like, oh, yeah, they're no, they're embarrassed pissed off. This Bama football team was humiliated last year multiple times. The Vandy game, humiliating. The Oklahoma game, humiliating. And last but not least, Michigan game, humiliating. All due respect to Michigan. And that's why I think, actually, Bama fans are going to sort of appreciate how bad last year was for the standard because it's going to motivate the Bama players that much more. Bama, for the first time since Nick Saban got there, actually feels like they have something to prove. That's crazy to even say, but it's reality. There are people literally doubting this Alabama football team and the program. I've seen it too many times. Everything is lining up for Alabama and Kalen DeBoer to just steamroll and punch everybody in the nose this year and say, yeah, you got us last year, but you're not going to get us again. I know some people are going to say, well, Matt, what if you're wrong, man? What if Alabama's not that good? They go 8-4, 7-5, which ain't going to happen. But hypothetically speaking, because some Timothy or Bobby's going to say in the comment section of this video, let me address that. It just can't happen. It's not even a possibility. Let me explain. Talent, when you have as much talent as Bama has on this current roster, it's going to prevail. It has to. There's no choice. You watching this video, I'm talking to you, Bobby, eating cheesy puffs on the couch. You can have the greatest coach in the world, and he can tell you what swim move to do on a Caden Proctor, but Caden Proctor's still going to put you in the dirt. That's what I'm talking about. Here's where I'm going with all this. It's to the point where I don't think Alabama is just going to beat teams this year. They're going to beat the absolute crap out of them. Let's talk about Florida State, the Seminole, since their quarterback wanted to talk a little bit of smack. He's, since that incident, went back on his statement, which is the worst thing you can do. If you're going to say something, stand behind it. For example, we all know Alabama is going to beat the Seminoles. Seminoles don't have a chance. But I think Bama's going to, this is not a prediction or preview video, but come on now. We're talking about, I'd be shocked if Florida State even gets 10 first downs in the game. I'd be shocked if they get over 250 total yards. There's just levels to it. And Florida State is not on Alabama's level. I'll be first to tell you, last year Alabama wasn't good. This year is going to be a different story. Let me put into perspective. It could be as bad as the Georgia-Florida State game a couple years ago, and I'll leave it at that. There's many more things I can say. I don't want to get too excited and too amped up and make all these predictions in the offseason because that's just not who I am. But once the season rolls around, you know we're going to be covering this nonstop, baby. I'm curious. Let me know your thoughts on this down below.